Someone is missing from your favorite story, and you never noticed. Not because they died, not because they left, but because they were surgically removed from the fabric of reality itself. Edited out like a scene cut from a film, except the film rewrites itself so seamlessly that you'd swear it was always this way. In the Harry Potter universe, there exists a form of magic so absolute, so terrifying, that even Voldemort never attempted it. It's not about power, it's about something far more fundamental, the ability to make yourself never have existed. Not death, complete retroactive erasure. Your birth never happened, your parents never had you. Every choice you made unmakes itself. Every person you saved finds a different savior or doesn't get saved at all. And Hermione Granger found it. Here's what's going to haunt you. If she actually used this magic, we wouldn't be discussing it. She'd simply be gone. Harry Potter would have different memories. Ron Weasley would have married someone else. The entire wizarding world would exist in a different configuration, and nobody would mourn her because nobody would remember there was anyone to mourn. But what if we could witness it? What if we could see the moment she decides her existence is a mistake that needs correcting? Watch every consequence spiral outward, trace every life that changes when she erases herself. The reasons aren't what you think. Hermione doesn't do anything without running every calculation, checking every variable, understanding every cost down to the last detail. If she chose erasure, her logic would be flawless and absolutely devastating. Let me show you why the brightest witch of her age would conclude that the world would be better off if she'd never been born, and why she'd be mathematically, horrifyingly correct. 2024. Hermione is Minister of Magic. Her daughter, Rose, is 15 years old, and reality itself is beginning to fracture around the girl like ice cracking under impossible weight. It starts at Rose's birthday party. 30 guests in the Weasley garden, fairy lights floating overhead, the kind of perfect celebration that families remember for years. Rose leans over her cake, surrounded by people she loves, and makes a wish. I want everyone I love to be this happy forever. For 12 seconds, nothing happens. Then the universe hiccups. Everyone at the party suddenly exists in multiple moments simultaneously. Hugo Weasley is 7 years old again, opening Christmas presents. Ron is 18, kissing Hermione for the first time in the ruins of Hogwarts. Harry is holding his newborn son while also standing at the party as a middle-aged man. Past and present occupy the same space, the same bodies, the same breath. Hermione watches in frozen horror as reality becomes negotiable around her daughter. She can see it, the actual fabric of causality bending like light through water, warping around Rose like she's a black hole pulling time itself into orbit around her emotions. 4 minutes, that's how long the temporal collision lasts. When reality snaps back, most guests convince themselves they imagined it, that they'd had too much fire whiskey. But Hermione knows better. She's seen the magical signature. She recognizes what Rose is, a causality nexus, a human being who doesn't just perform magic, she rewrites the rules of what magic can do. That night, Hermione starts researching, not how to fix this, how to prevent Rose from ever existing. Because here's what Hermione discovered in the Department of Mysteries 3 weeks later. There's a prophecy, fresh, glowing, addressed to her, and the voice inside is Rose's, older, fractured, speaking from a future that's already happened 7 times. Mother, I'm sorry. This is the 7th iteration. I've unmade London. I've erased Edinburgh trying to fix London. Each time I rewind to correct my mistakes, I create worse problems. By my 18th birthday in this timeline, I'll have killed 16,000 people trying to save them. I don't know how to stop. The power isn't something I control, it's what I am, and it's eating through the boundaries between what is and what could be. 16,000 deaths. That's the cost of Rose growing up with power she can't control. But here's the twist that breaks everything. Hermione runs the calculations for the alternative timeline, the one where she erases herself from existence and Rose never gets born. The math is brutal. Hermione creates 2 models, 2 possible futures. Both are nightmares, just different flavors of horror. Timeline A, Rose exists. 16,473 people die across 7 reality-warping disasters before Rose finally learns control at age 25. London partially unmakes itself. Edinburgh follows. Smaller catastrophes accumulate like compound interest on suffering. But Rose survives. She masters her power through blood and grief and catastrophic failure. By age 30, she becomes something unprecedented. A guardian who lives for 3 centuries, who prevents wars before they start, who stops the next Voldemort before he's born. Her presence saves approximately 240,000 lives over the next 150 years. Net result? Timeline A costs 164,473 lives, but saves 240,000. Net positive? 223,527 lives saved. Timeline B, Hermione erases herself. Rose never exists. Neither does Hugo. Ron marries Lavender Brown. They have different children, normal children, without reality-warping abilities. But without Hermione, everything changes from the very beginning. First year at Hogwarts, Harry and Ron investigate the Philosopher's Stone without Hermione's brilliance. They solve it more slowly. Neville Longbottom becomes their 3rd companion, finally getting the attention he deserves. They barely defeat Quirrell. Harry spends 3 weeks unconscious instead of 3 days. Second year, without Hermione's research, nobody realizes it's a basilisk until 3 students are dead: Penelope Clearwater, Justin Finch-Fletchley, and Ginny Weasley. The deaths force Dumbledore to act more decisively. He discovers the Horcruxes earlier, but at a terrible cost. Third year, no Time Turner means Sirius Black dies, but his death drives Remus Lupin to hunt Peter Pettigrew with obsessive determination. Pettigrew is captured earlier. Voldemort's resurrection is delayed by months. And then comes 4th year, where everything collapses completely.
Without Hermione to mediate, Harry and Ron's friendship fractures during the Tri-Wizard tournament. Ron's jealousy lasts longer, cuts deeper. Harry faces the tasks increasingly alone. In the second task, he must rescue what he'll miss most, which in this timeline is Ginny, not Ron. Harry saves Ginny. Ron Weasley, underwater as Fleur's hostage, drowns when Fleur is knocked unconscious by Grindylows. He's 14 years old. The cascade from Ron's death is catastrophic. The Weasley family shatters. Fred and George abandon their dreams, become Aurors consumed by revenge. Ginny never develops the confidence to eventually duel Bellatrix Lestrange. Most critically, Harry, guilt-ridden and alone, becomes dangerously reckless. When Voldemort returns and Cedric dies, Harry doesn't report to Dumbledore. He runs. At 15 years old, he starts hunting Horcruxes alone, torturing information out of captured Death Eaters, becoming exactly the kind of dark wizard Voldemort always claimed he was. The war drags on for 8 years. Casualties, 8,200 deaths. Neville eventually becomes the unlikely hero who defeats Voldemort, but he's broken by what he had to do to get there. And without Rose's future guardianship preventing conflicts, the magical world faces slow collapse over the next century. Additional deaths from wars that Rose would have prevented, 180,000. Net result, Timeline B costs 188,200 lives. The mathematics are absolutely clear. Timeline A, where Rose exists and kills 16,000 people while learning, is objectively better. Hermione should do nothing. Let her daughter grow up, make catastrophic mistakes, learn from oceans of blood, and eventually save hundreds of thousands of lives. The rational choice is crystal clear, but Hermione keeps staring at one name in her calculations, one name that breaks her completely. Ronald Weasley, dead at 14, drowned, alone. And she realizes she can't be objective about this.
For 3 weeks, Hermione doesn't sleep. She drinks coffee laced with pepper-up potion, fills 17 notebooks with increasingly desperate calculations, searching for the variable she's missed, the solution that saves everyone. There isn't one. Every path she maps leads to blood. The only question is whose blood, how much, and whether she can live with having chosen it. She discovers the spell in a vault 9 levels below the Department of Mysteries. Existentia revocata, the revocation of existence. Not a killing curse, not time travel, complete ontological erasure. The caster remains conscious for 7 minutes while reality unravels them, experiencing every memory deleted in reverse chronological order, watching themselves disappear from existence while still aware enough to understand what they're losing. Nobody survives those 7 minutes sane, but that's irrelevant, because after 7 minutes, there's nobody left to be insane. Hermione prepares everything. The astronomical alignment is perfect on October 31st, Halloween, the anniversary of the night that started everything. She writes letters to people who won't remember her. She arranges the spell components in her study. Ron finds her research 3 days before she plans to cast it. The fight that follows is the worst of their marriage. Ron's rage is incandescent. "You think you can just decide this? Unmake yourself? Unmake Rose? Unmake our entire life because of some prophecy? It's not some prophecy. Hermione's voice is ice and mathematics. I've verified it 17 different ways. Rose's power is already destabilizing local reality. Last week she got upset at breakfast, and our house existed in 2 locations simultaneously for 4 minutes. Then we'll find another way. We always do. There is no other way, Ron. I've calculated. Damn your calculations! Ron's wand shakes in his hand. You're talking about erasing yourself. I won't remember you? Rose never exists? Hugo never exists? 27 years of marriage just gone, and you're okay with that? Hermione's voice finally breaks. Of course I'm not okay with it. I'm choosing it because it's the least terrible option in a galaxy of terrible options. What about what I choose? You'd choose me even if it meant the world ends. That's what love does. It makes people choose disaster over loss. And I've spent my entire life being the rational one who saves people from their own loving, suicidal heroics. Ron pulls her into an embrace she doesn't understand is goodbye. I need you to trust me one more time, the way you trusted me with the Horcrux hunt. Hermione closes her eyes. I'm not asking permission. I'm asking you to understand afterward that this was love. When? Tomorrow, Halloween, midnight. Then we have 24 hours to convince you there's another way. Hermione agrees, knowing she won't be convinced, but she gives him those hours because she's not a monster, just someone making a monstrous choice for comprehensible reasons.
Ron brings everyone. Harry's portrait from the study, Luna Lovegood, Neville Longbottom, even Draco Malfoy. They research alternatives until 11 p.m. on Halloween, finding nothing that Hermione hasn't already investigated and dismissed. At 11:30 p.m., Rose enters her mother's study. You're planning to erase yourself, she says, not a question. I've seen it in my dreams. I see the timeline where you don't exist, where I don't exist. Hermione can barely breathe. Rose, I've also seen the timelines where I destroy everything. Mum, I've watched myself accidentally kill thousands of people. The power is like drowning in fire, and it's getting stronger every day. Rose sits across from her mother, 15 years old, with ancient, terrified eyes. Here's what you haven't calculated. In the timeline where you erase yourself, Harry still defeats Voldemort, but it takes 8 years and costs thousands more lives. Ron dies at 14. Neville becomes the hero, but he's broken by it. It's a darker, harder world. But it survives, Hermione whispers. Yes, and in the timeline where I grow up, I destroy reality 7 times, but on the 8th attempt, I figure it out. I learn control. By 25, I'm stable. I become the guardian that keeps the magical world safe for 300 years. But those 7 apocalypses kill 16,000 people total. Horrible, unforgivable. But your erasure kills 8,000 during the extended war, plus everyone who dies when magical society eventually collapses without me as guardian. Your math is right about which timeline costs fewer lives, but you stopped believing it because of Ron. The clock shows 11:58 p.m. Mum, you taught me that being smart isn't about never making mistakes, it's about learning from them. You need to let me make catastrophic mistakes and learn from them. Ron enters with everyone else. We took a vote, everyone in this room. The question, would we rather live through Rose's worst timelines with you existing, or live through darker history without you? That's not fair, Hermione starts. 32-0.
Ron interrupts. Every single person chose you. We choose the timeline where you exist. We choose Rose, even knowing the cost. The clock strikes midnight. The perfect moment passes. Hermione stands at the threshold of erasure, spell components laid out, words of power on her lips. She looks at Rose, at Ron, at everyone who would rather face apocalypse together than live safely apart. And Hermione Granger makes the most irrational decision of her life. She steps away from the spell. "I choose you," she whispers, "all of you. If the world ends 7 times, we'll rebuild it 8. 3 years later, the first collapse happens. 1,600 dead. Hermione holds Rose as her daughter screams at what she's done. And every day after, Hermione chooses again not to erase herself, chooses to live with the consequences. 7 disasters, 16,000 deaths, each one weighs like gravity. But Rose learns. By 25, she stabilizes. She becomes the guardian the prophecy predicted, saving hundreds of thousands of lives over centuries. The cost was catastrophic, but it was the cost of growth, of learning, of becoming greater through failure than through prevention. Hermione never erased herself. And because of that irrational choice, that beautiful human choice, the future became worth surviving. Sometimes the wrong equation gives the right answer. Sometimes love is wiser than mathematics. Sometimes the bravest thing isn't erasing your mistakes, it's living with them.